Do, do, do. Well, it says we're live now, but I can't see you. I don't know if Nackie came back on or not. All right, we are on. So we're waiting for Nackie. We're gonna see if the internet can catch up to us. But welcome Tua Kealoha from all the way from the island of Salt Lake. What's going on, brother?
Thank you, Carl. I appreciate it, man. I'm super excited. Looking
You're a
forward
busy
to it.
guy.
Bro. Make it happen, man. No excuses.
Isn't it cool to be busy though in your passion? You know what I mean?
Man, it's funny because I go crazy sometimes, but this is the life we prayed for, right? And a lot of people see the success, man, but I'm barely scratching the surface, man. To be honest with you. So,
Got a
yeah.
long ways to go, but you've come a long ways too.
Oh, of course, of course.
What's up, Nackie?
Hey, late to the party, late to the party.
You're good.
Fashionably
You're good.
late, right?
Fashionably late is
Lady should be
right.
fashionably late.
I had to make an appearance, an entrance.
Ah.
Yeah, she had to leave the room and come back.
Mm.
So talk to us, Nackie, about how we got lucky enough to have this young man on with us today.
Well, we met Tua a year or two ago, maybe, when we
Mhm.
were in Utah. He was filming. He's an actor, a director, a writer, an entrepreneur, a community leader, like everything. He's just everything that we look for in a positive Pacific Islander role model. We met him a couple of years ago when he was filming his movie, Dear Lord. And we got lucky enough to show up at the last day of, he was shooting his last scene. And
Yeah.
so, and we've just been like these last couple of years, we've just been watching you go, go, go.
Yeah.
Like you're just doing great work. So for people who don't know you, even though I put a little bio up about you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself for people that are just new and who haven't heard of you, which I doubt, but.
My name is Tua Kealoha. I am a father, actor, writer, producer, director. I wear many hats. You know what I mean? I think the reason why I wear so many hats is because, my passion is endless. And I was talking to Carl earlier. I was like, man, it's a blessing for me to do what I love and be busy in the things that I love, and this is the life we prayed for. I was going
Yeah.
crazy. I went crazy. I'm not gonna lie. I went crazy yesterday. Just like, wow, it's just like never ends. But, I just got to keep it pushing. And, I forget sometimes that I'm leading by example, and people are watching me, especially my kids. And I just want to be a great example. I hope to be a great example for not just our people, but just people I come across and come into contact with. So, yeah.
Especially your daughters. You want to give us their names or shout them out
Yeah,
or?
my oldest daughter is Abigail, my beautiful daughter Ariana, and Addison. The light of my life, man. They keep me grounded. If I don't see them within a week or 3 days, I cry like a baby.
Going
They're
crazy.
my motivation. They make me better. So yeah,
I just wanted to, I know we're going to talk to you, but I just wanted to mention that when we were there visiting you and we went to Brother Jonathan's wedding,
yeah,
your daughters were there and they all had short hair like me.
yeah,
They had really short hair. And what really grabbed me about them, and this is a testament to you and their mother, is that they had a family member, you guys had a family member that had cancer,
yes,
and all three of them shaved their head, cut their hair. And for young girls to do that,
yeah.
they're at that age, right? For them to do that, it just really touched my heart, and it said a lot about you and their mother and the way that you raised them with love. So
Yeah.
good job, Daddy.
Kudos to their mom. I think their mom had a big part of that. But, yeah, sometimes I'm just mesmerized how something from you come out of you, and they listen to the same music you like,
Right.
and they make you, they have character, and I'm just like, man, it's just awesome, man, to have kids. Kids are a blessing for real.
Kids are little sponges. They soak up what they see, what they model after.
Yeah,
So your kids
yeah,
are a reflection of you. I always thought that when I was growing up, I'd look at my kids and I always thought it was easy to say, that's my kid when he hits the winning 3-point at the buzzer. But when my
Yeah.
kid does something challenging, that's when I got to say, that's my kid too, as a reflection of me. Like if they're winning or if they're dealing with things well, that's probably something they model after their mom or their dad. What we saw with your daughters is definitely a reflection of, of good role models and parenting and all those different things. So I think that's kind of I see a lot of parents kind of shy away from that because that's you take boasting about your job or sports or those kind of things, and sometimes the complimenting people's parenting skills. I think a lot of people are a little uncomfortable about that because it's really
Yeah.
that's about from within, right? That's really
Yeah.
about yourself. So take that compliment, brother. That job well
Yeah.
done.
And even as Polynesian parents, man, I think we should tell our kids more often, or every day, or every single chance that you get, that we love them.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a different world right now.
It
Obviously,
is a different,
what we were
way
talking about, and social media has a big influence now. And
Oh, there she is.
Hi, baby. So I wanted you to talk to everybody about how where you started. Like you didn't start here, you know what I mean? Your life was
Yeah.
a little challenging, and the path that you took before you found your passion.
Yeah. So growing up, we as kids, we care about what other people think about us, and I think I had a big problem with that, to where um, I started to find myself, and I started to hang out with the wrong people. Got in trouble with the law, and just not really, grasping life for what it is. And eventually, I had my kids at a very young age, 18, 19. And I think when I had my second daughter, Ariana, I was like, you know what, I need to do something with my life. I need to change this, because I wanted to be somebody that my kids will grow up to look up to. So um, I just stopped hanging around with certain people. I stopped, speaking death. I started speaking life. I started to do my own research. I started learning about myself through my culture. Loving myself from my culture. Sometimes we forget that we come from strong lineage as Polynesians, right? And it's corny. It's corny to some of these kids. Like, man, no, I'm from the mainland. I'm from where Cali. I'm from this wooty woo. That's fob stuff, But if we sit down and learn about our culture, it's so rich. And
Yeah.
I think that was part of me finding myself, of knowing that my grandpa was a chief, knowing that my grandpa took care of his village, knowing that the same aspects from him is into me, because I like to take care of people. I like to make sure everyone's okay.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing. I'm getting goosebumps. And that's the thing that got me towards to taking care of people. And I'm a people person.
Yeah.
So eventually I became a counselor at the juvenile detention prison out here in West Valley City, called Decker Lake. And that's where I found my niche. That's where I started helping kids get out the gang life. I
Yeah.
became a senior counselor at the detention center, and I became the first gang prevention specialist in Utah.
That's
And
awesome.
it took a toll on me, because I care. I care too much, right? And I think the biggest thing that I want to express through that is, to people, is if you want to become successful, learn how to serve.
Right.
Learn how to serve people.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I talked to my sister. Her name is Alexis Kealoha, and I was on the phone with her. I was like, "Man, you want to become successful? Always give back.
Yes.
Always give back."
The
And
road to leadership. That's
yes,
road to leadership.
and I have this saying. Nackie. A boss says do, but a leader says let's go. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And I'm always that person. Like, man, like, look, if you want me to help you take out the trash, I'll help you come take out the trash. And
Yeah.
that's where people want to follow you. People will
Yeah.
love to like follow you when you do stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think
That's
it's inspirational for um, people that have had adversity to see
Mhm.
somebody who's come from that and is where they're at versus somebody who's born into privilege or
Mhm.
born into something and they make something out of themselves that way. Great. I mean, that's very positive, but some people can't relate to that. They
Yeah.
have adversity, and I think that there's a feeling that where your past defines your future. Whether we actually think that, sometimes people wouldn't say that, but I think there's a feeling that because of where I've been, that's kind of track where I'm going to go.
Yeah.
And you're a good example of how you can change that. You can change your trajectory, so to speak.
Of course.
Do you have a idea where that came from in your life? Was there a role model in your life that gave you inspiration, that helped you change your direction?
I think my mom, you know, my mom is man, she's like one of the hardest workers that I know, and she never complained growing up. She's been with Hawaiian Airlines for like 40 plus years,
I see
you
that.
know, and before, I remember as a kid, before she went to work, she'd always make sure there's something to eat for us, coming home from school, and just little things, making sure that, she was always asking me if I'm hungry, and I catch myself doing that to my kids, like, hey, are you hungry? Like, I know they just ate, but it's like, what's wrong? Do you just want to go get some ice cream? And that's just like, like I said, those things about our culture, if we take the time to realize that it's passed down from generations, you'll find out a lot about yourself, where you come from. And yeah, my mom, man, shout out to my mom.
Yeah, big shout out to your mom. I want to shout out of course your movie Dear Lord
Yeah.
that you sat down and wrote and directed and acted in, and award-winning film. Let me add. That is so amazing. And then tell us about Dear Lord, why you did it, and how it came to life.
So how Dear Lord came upon, I was working as a counselor at a youth program, and they sent me with a young man to go get his GED done, right? And I didn't realize how long the GED takes, but it took like 5 hours maybe.
Mhm.
Anyway, I had time in the computer lab, and there was a story in my head that I always wanted to write, and I wrote Dear Lord in, like, no joke, in 3 hours,
Wow.
scene for scene. And about a year later, I had a meeting with Inglewood Films, my brothers, JD, Damar, Musa, and Pell, and I threw a script on the table. I said, look, you guys are looking for a script. I want you guys to read that and let me know what you think.
Mhm.
And they all read the script, and it was like, we'll do. We love it. So my biggest, and I never told anyone this, my biggest thing, if you watch the movie, I wanted people to realize, how I was gonna have God speak without even speaking. Does that make
Right.
sense?
Yes, yes.
And that was the biggest challenge that I faced. And thank God that I was able to make this movie, and yeah, it touched a lot of people. It
It
still is
touched a
touching
lot of
people.
lives. It's
Yeah,
a really, really good film.
yeah,
So proud of it. So proud.
I think
And
back to that day
then,
that we met you. You were shooting what ended up being the final scene, I think.
yeah,
It was the
yeah,
final
yep,
scene in shooting.
yep.
Um,
Last day.
and a whole bunch of people didn't show up.
Uh-huh.
So I got a big appreciation for the filmmaking process, because, like, Nackie's one of those, we'll just figure it out, we'll do it. I'm one of those, like, I got to think everything out.
Yeah,
So between the two of us, we're a good team, because I'm a lot of think, she's a lot of do. We get things done and with just enough planning. But when that was going down, I was nervous for you, and
hmm,
I didn't know. I just met you, but I was like, man, all these people aren't showing up. What is he going
yeah,
to do? And you just navigated that storm of people not showing up, and how am I going to get this shot done? And no, we're going to get it done. I could tell there was never a thought in your mind like, well, we'll reschedule, we'll
yeah,
do it a different day. But I was impressed by how well you thought on your feet, uh,
hmm,
and just your attitude of, well, somehow it's going to get done today. And to
yeah.
me, I was like freaking out for you, but you just managed it all and got it all done. I was impressed.
Thank you,
yeah,
brother. Thank you.
it's a great
And
movie.
it's the team, man. The team all
Yeah,
behind it, man. I have a good
yeah.
team, man. Shout out to my brothers, man. So
You
yeah,
do have. I wanted to shout out the people that are on, just saying hi. There's Lily Felice Tauese,
Lily.
Jeff Misa, who checks in. He's actually in Samoa. Fili Ngalteote, who's here. Neil Verver, Fue Mania Tau, Ka'au Ahina,
Mhm.
and then, I mean, there's tons and tons, and I'm sorry I didn't get to everybody's name, but we wanted to get on to current events, what's going on. I seen that you posted about George Floyd,
Yeah.
about Black Lives Matter, and then I seen today, because I was busy running around, but Carl had posted something about the incident that happened with a young man that was killed in the hands of the police department in Minneapolis.
Minneapolis.
Yeah. So you guys have powerful thoughts about it. Tell me, let's go.
Who wants to go
So
first? Carl, you want to go
the
first?
guy
You go
was
first, bro.
he's 42. So I think some of the times that these videos come out, like Ahmaud Arbery, people were talking about, that kid who was like, he was 25. Um, George Floyd was 42. So with two kids. So it's not a situation of like, black youth running the street, that kind of thing this is somebody who, has a job, has a family, has loved ones. I saw a heartbreaking story of his cousin was talking about, she heard that somebody got killed in a police incident in that area of town. So she heard about the incident, and then later she found out it was her cousin. I think the thing that struck me as almost like business as usual was what I posted today. So I had seen the video. The video is heartbreaking. So if
Yeah,
I would tell people,
awesome.
Ahmaud Arbery was heartbreaking to watch. It was very violent. This is like a slow, like my heart was racing minutes in, even though I knew what was going to happen. I was like, get off of him. Like I kept saying, talking to the screen. When I saw what the police had posted of what the actual incident was, and I don't have it in front of me, but basically they give this generic incident where they responded to a forgery in progress, and the man resisted arrest. They put him in cuffs, and then they noticed he was having a medical incident. That was the description from the police department of that incident. So when you take what we saw and then you look at that description, it just makes me wonder, like, now when I read descriptions of incidents, I look at that and go, well, is there a video? Because if not for the Ahmaud Arbery case where the guy filmed it, nothing ever happens with that. We never even hear that. If not for that witness in Minneapolis filming that, we just get that description where it's some generic incident where he had a medical incident. You wouldn't even know the police's involvement with it. There's so many things that infuriate me about this, but the generic description of that and what that means to me is that life didn't matter enough to write about it or document it the way that it happened. So when we talk about Black Lives Matter or All Lives Matter, or all those kind of things, the focus right now is this incident. And that's what I'm trying to have the discussion about. And then when you see the description, it really brings the question in my mind, do they matter? Because that makes me think that the life didn't matter. We didn't have the discussion or have the dialogue about it. What was your thoughts when you first saw it, Tua?
I couldn't breathe, man. I was so sick to my stomach. I was just like you. I was yelling at the phone. My phone was like, get off of him. Like, and what got me is when he was crying for his mom. And that like kind of brought me in tears, and like I couldn't eat. I remember yesterday, man, it was just bothering me. This man's face was in my head the whole time. And you get to this point, right, Carl and Nackie, is like, as young as I was, if it didn't affect me, it doesn't matter, right?
Right.
If it doesn't affect my family, then why should I care, right? And it's so, I'm to the point now to where it does matter to me. I I don't know how to explain it, but I got sick to my stomach. And before I even go on with this, I want to say, when I say Black Lives Matter, I don't mean it to where Polynesians or Mexicans or whites or black, or Native Americans don't matter. No, when I say Black Lives Matter, it's because what's going on right now.
Yeah.
What's seen right now. And a lot of people have this thing to where like, what about us as Polynesians? Like Polynesians' lives matter. I said it does, but as of right now on the forefront, Black Lives Matter. And a lot of people don't.
They don't understand that.
I understand that exactly.
A lot of people, and I've seen a lot of people on your post because you posted Black Lives Matter, and then I seen like, I don't know, 60 or 70 comments, and I clicked on, and everything was everybody's lives matter. But that's not the point that we're trying to get here. And like, one of the Brown Girl Woke in Hawaii, she wrote, she had the FIST, Pacific Islanders for Black Lives Matter. And she said, don't get it twisted. All lives matter, absolutely. However, when we say Black Lives Matter, we are saying that it's easier to walk down the street in 2020 as a white person than a person of color. We're saying that you can sit on a park bench wearing a hoodie, headphones, hands in your pocket, and not worry about getting shot as long as you're white. And so I think that's it. And she goes on, but that's what we're trying to, I think the point of view we're trying to give everybody is like, yes, everybody's lives matter, but it's easier for a white person to walk on the street, to get pulled over, to, just sit in your car and do nothing than a person of color.
Yeah. I think when I hear Black Lives Matter, it doesn't mean that other lives don't. It means this is the current narrative that we're talking about. That's why I'm saying it that way. I'm not saying Black Lives Matter and brown ones and white ones and other ones don't. I'm saying, look, this is the contemporary topic. This is the topic. This is the news of the day. We need to be talking about what's happening right now. There was riots and protesting and craziness going on last night in Minneapolis. That's what the discussion is.
And what bothers me is when people bring up the fact, well, Black people kill Black people all the time. I said, we ain't talking about that. That's not even the narrative. Like, I don't want to bring up nothing that has to do with, Black on Black crime. I'm not talking about that. Just exactly what Nackie said. The narrative is that, our Black brothers are getting killed, senseless killings, senseless. Like, no, and I do know a lot of good cops out there, man. A lot of people that are cops in my life that I love to death. And this is not against, there's good cops out there and there's bad cops. But this is against racism.
Right.
Period.
Right.
Yeah.
I support the blue line. I support police officers, but this is against racism.
Right. Yeah, no, I work in police services. So some of my best friends are police officers who are really good people. Yes. But the thing that scares me is that I have a son. He's a man of color. So do I worry about, and we talk about this all the time, Carl and I, that I have to have a different conversation with my son than a person that is not of color has to have with their son. You know what I mean? Like, I've got to tell them, when you get pulled over, make sure your hands are on the steering wheel. Don't reach for nothing. Just answer the question. You know what I mean? Like, why do I have to do that? And you don't have to do that to your son. Yeah. But if I don't have this conversation with our sons of color, they're going to die. They have to act a certain way, and it's not right, and it's not fair.
We always talk about the story that Nackie and I were at a stoplight, and across the intersection on the other side of the street, a pickup truck had gotten pulled over. And while the guy was waiting for the cop to get out of his car and come up to the front, he was leaned all the way over into the driver's seat, looking for his paperwork, pulling up his armrest and looking underneath there. And then he actually reached underneath his seat. And as I was watching that, there was not a thought in the world in this guy's mind, which there really shouldn't be for anybody, but there definitely wasn't a thought in the world that, wow, what am I doing? Because it was making me nervous watching it. And then when he finally sat up, this is bad, right? He sat up and I thought, oh, well, he doesn't have to worry about it. And we were talking about the person of color playbook when you get pulled over is don't make the person nervous. I would never, if I got pulled over, lean over to my glove box or reach underneath my seat or do any of that. Like Nackie said, I would sit there with my hands in sight.
Right.
But does that even cross the mind of some people that aren't,
Right.
that don't have to worry about that.
There's a Foymanao Tao says this police brutality and murder disproportionately affects blacks than any other group of people of color, which true, totally true.
True.
And then Tanel Abang Reyes says, yes, I have had the same conversations with my son and daughters. So, and it is to the point because there was a lady that was, I don't know if she was murdered or recently, that now we have to have the same conversations with our daughters.
Yeah.
And Tua, you have daughters. So,
Yeah.
You've got to have the same conversation.
I teach my kids to love people for who they are, and you see my circle of friends. It's like
Yes.
Asians and blacks and polys, and then I want them to be like see past the color and see just for who they are. And man, people are missing out, man. You know what I mean? People are missing out on people. Like if you get to know them, man,
Man,
the best friends, but
you miss out on just our culture, speaking to other people with different cultures. You get to learn. It's crazy to me that this is happening today. Like this is stuff that we hear of in the history books that happened in 1940 or 30 or even 50s. You know what I mean? And here we are, 2020, and this shit is still happening.
On that note, Nackie, and we should we should all think of this in terms of, black people specifically, is they're the largest minority. They're the ones that move the needle for all people of color. Civil rights movement, when Dr. Martin Luther King was marching, he brought all the people of color forward. So it wasn't just blacks that were in the civil rights movement. It was Hispanics, it was Asians, it was Native Americans, it was Pacific Islanders. All people of color moved forward with the civil rights movement. So as the African American community goes, so goes a lot of the interest of all people of color. So what happens to a black person should definitely concern all of us.
And the thing is, Carl, is what I want to tell my Polynesian people is, and I want to be the forefront of this, is like it, when the black people is finished, we're next. We're
what I mean? We're now,
You know what I'm saying? I joke with my friends. It's like, Samoans, man, we're light-skinned black people, bro. We're just like you guys. You know what I mean? We love our family, and all jokes aside, it's just like, man, you watch these movies to where, hey, if this village doesn't join this village, they're gonna come for that village next. So you might as well join us.
Right.
And this is the same exact game. You know what I mean? A thing that we're living through right now. So I want my Polynesian people to stay awake and open up your eyes and pay attention, like I always say. So
pay attention. I have real quick. Pauline Torres says, it isn't fair. She's on the Facebook chat. It isn't fair. Our sons of color who have a target on their heads just because of the color of their skin scares me daily for my two other sons. I think all mothers that have a son of color, that is your biggest worry, is your everyday life. Like, somebody's jogging, or if he was jogging, or whether he was jogging or not, it doesn't matter. He didn't deserve to die. That I'm talking about, what happened in Texas. So
yeah, my son's 22 and he wanted to go jogging 2 nights ago, like 10 o'clock. I was like, nah.
Yeah.
Wait to run until tomorrow.
Yeah, no, thank you.
That's a hoodie and headphones, and you're not, the whole thought of him running down the street with the headphones on, not paying attention to what he's doing, just concentrating on running. Who knows how that gets perceived?
And for us to be talking about this, Carl, is I don't know how to explain it. It's just like, why are we talking about? You know what I mean? Like, why are we talking about this issue?
What now?
Yeah. So let's handle this, man. We got to do better.
We got to do
I will
better.
say this is one of the things that touched me in a positive way in the video of George Floyd was the white lady that came up, and she was very vocal. I'm an EMT. you need to check his pulse. And
Yep.
she was on the phone. She was doing everything she could. And that's another thing that really that touched me in the video, it was maddening, was there's so many people that were trying to help. But you know what happens if you cross, you know what I mean? Like people were like, why don't they go do something? And I thought of like, so if somebody ran over there
Take a
and
shot.
shoved the cop off of him and he lived, the guy's going to catch a felony charge. And then like, there's no winning in that situation unless, you know, the big crowd was going to do it. And then it, you know, it's a lose-lose situation. Hopefully, you know, maybe his life could have been saved, but realistically, if you're in that situation, they did everything they could. And it still wasn't enough. I mean, they were yelling, he's not breathing, check for a pulse,
But at some point,
him.
his pride took over. You know what I mean? Like that police officer's pride took over. Like, no, you know, I feel like his pride took over and he just didn't want to bow down or whatever.
I think that is it. I think there's ego. And yeah, he resisted before. Nothing he did before justified what we see in the video. So sometimes I hear, and I'm one of those, like with Ahmaud Arbery, I'm like, there's more to it than him being a kid jogging through. Like that one, I was like, I need to see more. This one, even after I think he died, so he's motionless for 4 minutes, and the guy still has his knee on his neck. You can't be non-compliant when you're unconscious. He wasn't fighting. He wasn't doing anything. And for 4 minutes, the guy's knee was on his neck. And originally, here's another report from the authorities is that he died at the hospital. So that kind of absolves the cops from, well, he was living when he left the scene. Now the EMTs or the firefighters, I think, when they took him, the people that transported him now are reporting that there was no pulse during the transport from the scene to the hospital. So the initial reports when I read, he died when he got to the hospital, I was like, the guy was, I mean, you can't tell from the video, but he looked dead at the scene. But now the truth is starting to come out. This is going to unravel around those four, but just sad. I was encouraged though to see it wasn't just Black people that were witnessing it and trying to help. There was the community was there trying to help.
It seems like every week there's something or someone that this has happened, like another Black man has died. You know what I mean? Do you guys feel like it's getting worse, or it's just this has always been happening, but now that we have phones and the technology is crazy now, you know what I mean? We're seeing it.
So I'm glad you brought that up. I think it's always been happening. It's just now, awareness and people are shedding light to it more often, right? Because of social media. And, I have older folks older than me and says, well, this has been going on for years. Why what you're going to do about it? And I said, look, with all due respect, like I said, I am going to die trying to make a difference. You know what I mean? And if we don't learn from our history, we will never change our future. I mean, you didn't do nothing, but I'm going to do something. I'm different.
Right. If you don't do nothing and I don't do nothing, it's still going to continue. At some point, somebody it just takes one person to.
I don't think it's more. I think because of this, the phones, I think we see it more.
Yeah.
But like when I read that report of some generic incident that you would never even read twice, it makes me, wonder like how many of these do we never see because there's no video, because as prevalent as the phones are out there, there's still going to be incidents that happen where there's no video. And then you're at the mercy of the people writing the reports. They write reports like that. Then it makes you wonder like, maybe it is, maybe there is more, maybe there isn't. I just know that there's going to be a lot more of this because the video, the phones are going to capture the incident. I think that maybe, I don't know why, but I was telling, I remember I texted Nackie like, I don't know, night before last or something. I'm like, man, this thing's got me messed up. Seeing that video, and we've seen like how many different times have we seen this happen, but this one, maybe it's because you're literally watching the guy die in the video, and people are yelling like it's so preventable. Maybe that's what it is, but man, this has got me twisted. This is one of those that just got, I can't get it off my mind.
Lily says she grew up in the 60s and 70s, and it's sad that we're in the 21st century and this ignorance is still happening. But I think educating our young people in these matters is crucial.
Yes.
That's absolutely right. Yeah. Absolutely right. We have to teach better. And I seen Deja Afrotene, she was like, we don't need to train them better. We need better people to be police officers. And I know that there's such a shortage of police officers that I feel like they're just, as in some cases, they're just taking whoever passes the test. You know what I mean? Where there's a lot of mental being that goes into being an officer.
Yep.
I think the part of the problem is the way the legal system is set up and the laws, and it seems like it would be hard for police officers because there's a them versus us mentality. So it's almost like it's our team versus your team. Right. And that's why you have cops like, I don't know, maybe the guy on his feet couldn't see his head, right? So the guy holding his feet, maybe he couldn't see his head. But you get this, it's so hard for cops to come forward because it's us versus them. They're all part of a team, right? It's so hard for a cop to go turn in another cop. Like, I don't know how many times, you see all these things, but when do you see, and I searched YouTube for it, and I found 3 videos. I searched YouTube for cop stops other cop and from beating somebody up. And I did find a couple videos, but there's so few that I think it's just hard for even the good cops that know what they're seeing is wrong. It's like they're literally taking their lives in their own hands if they say something or do something, because then that other officer that they call out, do they have their back when they go, in the alley tomorrow night? That's a tough thing for the cops that, not all cops are bad. So the ones that aren't, that's a tough position.
Totally.
And I'm gonna say this, Carl and Nackie, I don't preach this us against cops. We need them too. In order to change our society, we need the cops, to be as one with the people. And I don't preach this, FTP, all this, you know what that means. And no, I don't condone in that, man, because we need them too. And it has to have somebody to stand up and be like, look, we need to stop this. What do we need to do in order to fix this? Because obviously, 2 wrongs don't make no right. This protest, this violence and protesting, yes, people are mad, but that's not going to fix anything.
Yeah, we've got to start really young, talking to our kids and teaching each other's kids, no matter what color they are, how we should respect each other. Pew Tui Tupo said the fact that the media tried covering things up by saying he died at the hospital is probably the biggest red flag that everyone should open their eyes. It's a war bigger than we know. And then he asks, is there a mental test that the cadets have to pass, real life scenarios, put them under heat before they accept them into the force, which I know for sure that they have to pass a psych test. But I think it's just years of these cops, that years and years of all the trauma, you know what I mean? And all the killings they've seen and all, I think it builds up, you know what I mean? It's a rough job, that they hit the pavement every day. But at some point, you've got to take a break. You know what I mean? Like if you know that this job is, I'm not protecting the people. You know what I mean? Like at some point you got, but who tells them that? If we have a shortage of police officers, it's crazy.
To Tua's point about we need the cops to help fix this. We need way more people than people of color to fix the situation, because it's a whole system, right? Black people didn't push the entire civil rights movement by themselves. They had to move society because if there's just were black people trying to do it in the 50s, they would have never got it done. They needed allies from all, that was a united movement. And it's the same thing today. If we're going to change the system, it's not just going to be people of color doing it. We're going to, and we do. I mean, there's people of color have allies that are white. There's plenty of people out there of other races that are allies for the movement. But you're right. This isn't a one group that's going to change it all. This is the system. It's going to take a whole bunch of, different, all people of society to change it.
Crazy.
How do we get those people motivated?
Yeah, it really is a hard life to live being a cop and being a person of color. So there's like no friggin' balance. I just to turn the key real quick because we're coming up on an hour, but I wanted to talk about Someone Gold. Your film that is, if you didn't know, is on Amazon Prime. And so I did watch. It's very funny. So tell us how that came about and tell us, the actors that are in there. And
so growing up, my favorite movie was Friday. I don't know if you know Friday, next Friday, Friday after next. And I just came up with this grand idea of writing Simone Gold 1, and I just typed it all out and I sent it to JD. JD read it and he laughed. He goes, "Wow, this is fun. This is some funny stuff." And the very next weekend we ended up filming it, and people took it very, very well. I mean, like, surprised, and like even on this topic now, I'm a man that loves many cultures, and we come across different characters, with, I have my Russian friends and my Muslim friends on it, and throughout the whole series, it talks about unity, not just Polynesians, you know what I mean? And I wanted people to be like, oh wow, Simone Gold. Okay, they're just gonna see Samoans on there, which you don't. No, you see
totally not the case.
Yeah, you see Tongans, you see my black friends, and you see some Mexicans, and it's all of those people in the series are people from my community and people that I love as friends, and I think it got to the point to where just giving people a little sense of hope to be a part of something was life-changing.
That's huge.
Yes. And people were just like, wow, bro, like if you have anything extra for me, I'd love to come through. And you just see, I think on the final episode, it's Simone Gold 3, We All We Got. And it talks about like, coming together. This literally what's going on right now is We All We Got. And I've been pushing unity way before all this, way before everything, and I just wanted people to feel, because everybody wants to belong to something, right? And that's what Simone Gold is all about.
Yeah, it's a great series. If you're out there, please go watch it on Amazon Prime. It's very funny.
Leave us some reviews.
Great job. You do a great job on it, and with all the commercials, and then you just got another role for another.
Yeah, I just did one for a Shark Tank commercial. It was a Shark Tank product. It was fun.
Nice.
I did that last weekend. Yeah. So I mean, just taking it slowly, day by day.
And you're also doing Elate the Minds.
Elate the Minds is a motivational group between me and my brother DeMar Jones.
Yes.
Invited to schools, we tell kids to stay away from gangs, bullies, drugs. Follow your dreams instead of following the crowd. Because as a kid, you want to fit in, right?
Right.
And we all know as adults, being unique and being yourself is what makes the world go round.
Right.
And kids need us. I wasn't told that, as a kid. And the biggest thing, Nackie and Carl, is like when I asked my friends, even my homeboys, like, hey, do you remember anyone that looked like us going around telling us to stay away from these gangs and stuff? No. All of them said no. I said, bro, I'm gonna be that person. Me and DeMar's gonna be that person. And we, as soon as this COVID-19 is done,
you're back on the road.
Back on the road.
And what are you doing in Utah? Now I know that Utah, the numbers for Pacific Islanders are are high.
Yes.
The numbers for Pacific Islanders are high for
Yes.
COVID-19. And so what are you doing? Are you working or are
Yeah.
you home?
I'm working from home.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, working from home. I mean, we take precautions. You know, I mean, we wear the mask when we go to the grocery store, and um, I think as Polynesians, I think the biggest thing is we get sick easy because of our lifestyle.
Yeah,
We're not taking care of ourselves.
yeah,
You know, diabetes is an all-time high, and you
yes.
know, I've been trying to work out and work on my stamina and stuff like that. And I think as Polynesians, man, we need to focus on our health. I mean, let our immune system be stronger.
I
Right.
think that's a big thing is you have two different immune systems. You got your first level immune system,
Yeah,
and that helps keep you from getting it. Then you've got a second level immune system that fights it if you do get it.
yep,
I think that when your body is battling other fronts, your initial immune system is not strong. So,
yep,
like you said, with the pre-existing conditions, if you got hypertension, high blood pressure, diabetes, those kind of things, your initial immune system is not strong, and then that piles on top of.
Real quick, Lupe tu'uhe taufa fonua. Yeah, Tua, the community needs your positive vibe. Much love, bro. And Phyllis Barbara Morton said, great job, Tua. So, I mean, it's just all the love and the positivity that you project every day on social media. I love watching your videos and your motivation, speaking with, Elate the Minds.
yeah,
It's a great program. I love that you're talking to the kids that need to be spoken to, and to hear somebody who's been through what you've been through. So
yep.
congratulations on all your success.
Thank you.
You for taking the time with us, brother.
Oh, anything for you guys, man.
Want to shout anybody out?
Yeah, I want to shout out Inglewood Films, man. My brothers, man. We're working on a feature film right now called Ultimate Sacrifice. We're gonna do some casting calls right now. Working on Simone Go Forward. We're gonna, get some casting calls, get some people some hope, and we're working on another script called Shoebox.
That's awesome.
Talking about veterans and stuff like that. So
you got no projects going on at all, huh?
yeah, we gotta keep it moving. So
that's awesome. Congratulations, brother. Thank you so much for your
guys.
time this evening. God bless you, and kiss the girls for me.
Thank you. I love you guys.
Thank you, Tua.
All right, love you. Thank you.
Good night.